This animation page has pulled in over 10 million views in the last 30 days. Now, although this sounds good and all, I'm not an animator. You know, the best I could do is some stick art and we'll call it a day. But what if I told you,
you no longer have to be an animator. You can do it all with AI.
Today I'm going to show you exactly how to make these viral videos so you can replicate them and get into this viral niche that is getting loads of creators millions of views. Not to mention that you don't need a team of editors anymore. You can literally do this in your bedroom. If you told me this a year ago, I'd have called you a liar, I'll be honest. Anyways, let's jump straight into the tutorial. Alright, first let's get an idea of what these pages look like and what we actually want our videos, the end product, to look like and why they're getting so many views. So this is obviously the main guy here. He's the guy that pioneered this niche. As you can see, 2 million views, 400,000, 1.8 million, 400,000, and all these videos are just kind of banging. But it's not just this guy. You've got other people trying to like copy it off his niche. An example of this page here, you've got this page here. You know, this page has just started, you know, making this style of content, and one of his videos did over 250,000 views, which on a brand new page is ridiculous. And it's not just on TikTok either. Like there's this guy here on Instagram, he's got 20,000 followers making the same type of content, and again, he's getting hundreds of thousands of views on this niche. So if we watch one of these videos like this,
probes off of your skin and drop them into a jar of flour and water, they'll start to eat the sugars inside the flour. And as they break it down, they release carbon dioxide gas. Over a few days, the mixture will bubble up as more.
You get the general idea of the hook. Essentially, just go straight into the video. If you do this, then this will happen, and that is getting people hooked in straight away. You know, the animations here are looking very clean. They're looking very well professionally made. Now, I'm pretty sure Zack Films actually uses a team of animators. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this with just AI clips. All right, so one of the key things when you're making these videos is you want to come up with a good script, you know, like a good concept idea. Now, when you're first starting out and, you know, you're making videos in this niche, I would essentially use, you know, Zack Films or other creators in this niche as a template. You know, see what videos they've done. For example, here, this video's done 1 million views. We can essentially use this same story that they've done, but we can just do the animations ourselves, because then we know this is clearly a topic that people want to see, and we can also, you know, have a good idea without having to come up with the, you know, story ourselves, because that is a very hard thing to do when you're first starting a page. Obviously, as the page grows, you can bigger and bigger in these stories yourself and making these cool ideas yourself, but to do that you need to spend a lot of time researching this niche and finding out what goes viral. So when you're first starting out, it is just easier to copy these stories and animate them in your own style. The video that we're going to recreate is this one here. It's basically what would happen. You stuck a sword outside of your car and you hit a tree with it. You know, what would happen to the tree, what would happen to the sword. It's just a fun little animation. So what we're going to do is we're essentially going to take a snipping tool here, and we're going to use this kind of screenshot as a template for our video. We're going to go ahead and go to a site called OpenArt. Now on OpenArt, we can go down to image. We're going to go ahead and search Google's Nano Banana. Nano Banana is going to allow us to change that screenshot into something really cool. Let's go ahead and save this screenshot here. We're then going to throw this screenshot into the Omni reference section here. We then want to change this image slightly to actually make it look unique, so it actually makes it look like our video. So we can say keep the style the same, but change the grass to a different texture. You know, somewhat daft. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. We're also going to tell it to remove the play button and subtitles, because, you know, we don't want any of that rubbish on our video. Then all you need to do is click create. That has cooked this up for us here. As you can see, it's got rid of the play button in the middle, and it's got rid of the subtitles. However, I don't believe the texture of the grass has changed too much. You know, I'm kind of looking at that, I'm thinking, you know, has it done a good job there? So what we can do instead of keep the same style but change the grass to a different texture, we'll just say change the grass to autumn, you know, something like that, to really make sure it changes it. While that does that, we also then want to take this screenshot here, because this is the next stage of the video. As you know, it's got the tree. Again, we're just going to use the snipping tool and snip this little section out. You can see here it's done a good job at changing it to autumn, but if for some reason it's kept the play button and the subtitles down. Nano Banana can be a bit fiddly at times. What we can do is download this image, delete the original image, put the autumn style into the Omni reference, and this time literally just say remove the play button and the subtitle. Then we're not asking it to do, you know, too much at once, which sometimes it stresses out with, sometimes it works. You have to do a lot of playing around with the prompts. And then as you can see here, it's done a much better job. We've got the sword and everything is looking clean here. So then we can go ahead and download this image. We then basically want to do the exact same thing for the next clip, the one of the tree. So we can drag this into the Omni reference and then just put change the grass to autumn and remove the play button. If we click onto this, as you can see, it's all autumn. Again, it's kept the play button and subtitles, so we're gonna have to download that image, throw this back into Nano Banana here, and just click and just have it say remove the play button and subtitles. It is a bit annoying when it does that, like just listen to me the first time, but Nano Banana has still got some kinks to work out. After it's done that, you can see we've now got both of these images, and they've both been converted into an autumn style. So whereas Zack films, you see here it's all green. If we put these side by side here, we've essentially got the same scene, the same things happening, except ours is autumn, and it's even kept the animation style similar, which is really, really good. This animation style clearly works if it's done over 1 million views. What we've done is make ours a little bit different to make it stand out, and so it's our unique video. So then you're going to want to go back over to Open Art and click on Video. Click on the video section, then you're going to want to go down to Kling 2.1, and this is where the fun part comes in. You're going to want to drag in the images we've just made as the start and end frame. So it's just as simple as that. The start frame is the sword in the car, and the end frame is of the tree. And then basically here you want to type in something like seamlessly transition these two clips, don't use any cuts. It's important that there's no cuts, because obviously in Zack films it all just is natural and it's all fluid, which is very important. It's what we want. We're going to keep it at 5 seconds because, you know, that's how kind of short these little clips are. And then you just want to click on create. Let's go back over to the video that we asked it to do and see if it made it any good. So let's click this. As you can see, we've got the starting sword image, you know, and it's changed the camera angle now to the sword preeing up the tree. This is perfect, it's fluid, and it kind of looks exactly like it does on Zack films. However, it's all autumn style and it's all our video. But we don't need this to be perfect either, because this is literally only 5 seconds into a video. It just needs to get the clear concept out, and this is a good starting point. Alright, so now that we've got that clean transition from Kling, the next part is where I'm giving you a choice. You can either create this next part again with Kling and use Kling throughout this tutorial, or you can try and use Sora. Now for this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use Sora next. These more action shots. Basically, if we look at the video, the original video, how it is, as you can see, you know, he's actually driving, there's a lot of fluidity to the shot, and you know, he's going to come up on the tree and it's going to like actually cut it in half and stuff. It's going to be really hard for us to use Kling to actually get this much level of control and, you know, to actually get it to do what we want. You could get it to do it, but it will probably take you a fair few prompts to get there, whereas Sora is really going to help us here. So what we can do, we can go back over to Open Art, we can change this model to Sora 2, and then we can drop in the image that we've created on Nano Banana of the car. So if we drop this image in here of the sword and the tree that we made on Nano Banana earlier, Sora will then use that as a base point to make our video. If I type in something like have the car come down the road with speed, and then have the sword cut the tree in half, we now basically don't need an end frame. Sora is going to imagine the next steps of the video. Now if you want to make it look exactly like, you know, the Zack films video, you can say keep the POV the same throughout the clip. This is basically going to mean the camera angle stays behind the sword and, you know, carries on going in that direction. If you didn't include that line in the prompt, you'd start getting some crazy different B-roll footage, you know, of the car or maybe the guy driving. If you want that in your video, you know, feel free. This one's kind of optional and just what you think looks best. But anyways, if we click on create, it's generated as something that looks like this. Let's have a look. You've got the sword, you've got the tree, and he cuts the tree in half. Perfect, that's exactly what we wanted, and we didn't even have to use the end frame because Sora just kind of imagined what we wanted. You see how everything kind of just worked there? You know, the car was moving at a nice speed, the tree got chopped and the physics were okay. That's the power of Sora, whereas Kling, again, I'm not bashing on Kling by the way, but it would really struggle with that. Alright, so the next few clips in the Zack films video is he says, what would happen if sword is indestructible? So if the sword is indestructible, what would happen to the tree? And then what would happen if the tree and the sword is indestructible? Now for this video, since it's just going down the street multiple times, I'm going to use the same image here. But for example, if you had to change the scene, all you'd have to do is go back over to the Zack films video, take a screenshot of this, and then throw that into Nano Banana and change it again just like I showed you earlier. Then you'd throw that image into here and then write the prompt in. Super simple stuff. So this time I'm going to say have the car come down the road with speed. Then I'm going to say make the sword turn green, then have the car come to a full stop. I'm not putting keep the camera the same. In the Zack films video, you know, there's different angles of him actually holding the sword and all that stuff. So I want to see what Sora generates us here. So as you can see, it's made the sword turn green here, which is really cool. And the car's come to a full stop, and it's even given us loads of different angles. Perfect. And then the last one, I'm basically just going to ask it to, when the sword hits the tree, it breaks. So that generated me something like this. hits the tree and the sword breaks. Perfect. Now we've got all the clips we need to make our finished video. It's just about putting all these onto CapCut or something. So if we go into CapCut, click create a project, we want to download first the original Kling video that we did, and then we also want to download all the Sora videos that we made. And then it's just a simple case of putting this in the right order. So obviously the first one is of him, you know, looking at the sword, and the sword changes angle to the tree. The first one, we want the tree cut in half. And then it's going to go to the one where the sword breaks, and then it's going to go to the one where the sword turns green and the car stops. That is basically our video. It pans down from the driver to looking at the tree, you know, it goes up, tree gets cut in half, boom, sword breaks, and then boom, on this one, sword turns green and the full car stops. Now the last bit that we need to do is, you know, the easy part. It's just actually making a script for this video. Now if you wanted to, you could be really cheeky and just steal Zack Film's script. I wouldn't advise you do that because, you know, you don't want to just copy word for word what he says. So I've just come up with this quick script here. You know, you can copy this if you want to, or you can take it for inspiration. It just basically describes what is going on in the video. I've literally just watched this video and just kind of described what's happened with, you know, words. Used a few of the sentences that Zack Films would use. You know, like the start is what would happen if. That's, you know, it's a good hook to get people interested in your video. Then you just want to go to something like 11 lamps and just paste in your script. I think Brian kind of sounds most like the Zack Films guys, but obviously you can choose whichever voice you want for this. So it's generated as these two different audios. I prefer the second one. Then all you have to do is click download here. That's going to download as our audio file. Throw this into CapCut now, move it to the start of the video. All we have to do is match the text to the video so it makes sense. So I'm just going to quickly clean this up. And then once your video matches up with your audio, you can just go over to captions. You can either generate captions inside CapCut, or you can do it straight in the TikTok or YouTube Shorts app yourself. It's completely up to you. I know CapCut has made you start paying for captions now, which is pretty weird. You can also do this for free. If you've got Premiere Pro, you can just put captions in. For argument's sake, I'm just going to do it in CapCut because it's just easy for me, but you can do this for free. You don't need to pay CapCut to generate captions. It's the most bizarre thing. I can't believe they've started charging for this, I'll be honest. Anyways, once the captions are generated on whatever platform you decide to generate them on, you know, just put them like in the middle or something like this. And then if we play the video.
What would happen if you was driving fast down a road and hit a tree with a sword? You'd think the sword would slice the tree in half, but actually the speed wouldn't make a difference, and the sword would snap on impact. Now what if the sword in the tree was inscrutable? Well, you'd end up coming to a full stop.
And just like that, we have got a Zack Films video. Now, obviously, if you spent a bit more time on this and you could curate the shots a little bit better, you could make it even crisper. But one of the reasons I do like using Sora as well as Kling is because Sora actually gives you sound effects. Like we heard the, you know, the sword breaking when the sword highlighted and turned green. We heard that sound effect, and it just kind of brings the video alive, and it, you know, it's less work for you to do in the editing. I would say, you know, I do like the Kling effect at the start going into the Sora. Basically, if you do want a shot in a certain way and you know how you want it, you can use Kling to get that exact transition like we did here. But if you are a bit more willing, you can just get Sora to do most of the heavy lifting. Honestly, Google down a banana and Sora working together is a killer combo, and you can create some amazing stuff. If you want to try this out yourself, I'll leave a link down to OpenArt in the description, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.